Welcome into PressBox Live. I'm Stan the Fan Charles of PressBox at PressBoxOnline.com. And with me today is this handsome guy in glasses. He is Danny Black, the owner of Baltimore Sports Collectibles. And we're going to talk about our chance meeting back in, I think, late April. But first, let me tell you a little bit about the Costas Inn. Everybody knows, located at 4100 North Point Boulevard. They've been there for, I think, 40 plus years now. And everybody also knows that they are the preeminent place for steamed crabs, crab cakes, crab soup, everything to do with seafood, great steaks, great specials every night of the week, Monday through Thursday, and a great place to go and watch your ball games and all that stuff. But there's a significant number of people that just aren't really still comfortable going inside to eat. And the Costas Inn does not have outdoor dining. So you can do the next best thing, which is order your food online at costasinn.com, pay for it online, then pick it up, and you don't even have to get out of your car. And everything is packed immaculately. Grandma's crab soup isn't going to spill over your steak because everything is packed to perfection. The Costas Inn, they stepped up their game in curbside. We used to call it takeout, but now it's curbside. CostasInn.com. Phone number 410-477-1975. As I said, heading into the start of the show, Danny and I had a chance meeting. Luke Jackson, my editor, who had written the piece, sometime it takes a leader, and it was on Adley Rutschman. And Rutschman at that time was just doing his rehab, Danny, at Aberdeen. And you said, "Hey, Stan, I know you from, I need to talk to you." And we had a little bit of a coffee in Danish. And we talked about the fact that you were doing some sports collectible stuff already. I mean, marketing it on Jerry Coleman's show, but you wanted to do something more at that time. And since Coleman's left, we're picking up the threads of that relationship. And welcome aboard. PressBox viewers and listeners and readers are going to get to know a little bit about you. Why don't you tell us a little bit about you and Baltimore Sports Collectibles?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. Obviously, I'm very shy. You met that day one. So, as people get to know me, I wear orange and purple on my sleeves when I'm not wearing a media pass. And it's a pleasure to talk about cards, collectibles, Baltimore history, sports history. I'm a total sports geek. I've been a member of Sabre for who knows how many years. I can give the tour
And
to
you're also really well schooled on prospects in baseball. I don't know if you know them in all sports, but you did the show with me and Zach right before the draft.
Yeah, I've been covering prospects back when I worked for the Atlanta Braves in the early and mid 90s when they had Maddox, Glavine, and Smoltz. I became fascinated with their farm system. And a neighbor of mine from Owings Mills happened to be in their farm system at the time, and I started following minor league prospects.
Was that Brian?
It was
Brian
Brian.
Kowitz?
Yeah.
Okay.
So friend of the family. But from two guys from Owings Mills, Maryland, to end up growing up, our houses actually grew up back to each other, to end up both working for the Atlanta Braves at the same time. I started looking at prospects more as people and less as players. So I've been following prospects back from that time. I was lucky enough to work for the Braves, then the Orioles. I was a car dealer in the early 90s and went into private business, always have done consulting. And a couple of years ago, my business started taking off. And I went back full time into sports and cards. And Jerry and I did a couple of great years together. And I work, I buy and sell, and I do a lot of media and podcast. And listen, nobody from Baltimore couldn't be more thrilled to be here than me, Stan.
All right. Well, I know you a little bit, and I've been very impressed with you since I met you. Let me ask you a prospect question about Kowitz. How close was he to having had, say, a solid major league career? I know he only got the tiny cup of coffee, but the fortunes are that close, aren't they?
He's in the Clemson Sports Hall of Fame. I think he was
Yep,
inducted recently. So
yep.
I mean, that just shows you what type of athlete. I mean, that's not a Sisters of the Liberty West. So he was very talented. Look at the time he came up in that system, though.
Yeah,
I mean
yeah,
that's the whole reason I got into it. I mean, it was player after player. I mean, we have Drew Jones. Well, that was Andrew Jones,
yeah.
and he was a Braves guy, and it was just guy after guy. So Brian was ridiculously talented, but when you look at the guys in that outfield, he wasn't going to displace Andrew Jones.
Well, luckily his insurance business has skyrocketed and he does very well. And he's a great guy, great guy.
Absolutely.
Um, Wanted to talk to you today a little bit, and I do want to plug what you do. And as a matter of fact, I'd like to do that before we get into talking about some things like the mantle card and some of the stuff with the Oriole prospects, what their collectible value might be. But the um, the Baltimore Sports Collectibles, you like to plug the fact that you can go into a person's home and help them estimate what they have and then potentially help them sell it? Or do you just want to go into somebody's house and say, hey, I'll give you $4,000 for everything you have, and then you go out and maximize it? What do you like to do?
Great question. And there's nothing wrong with the second method, but I found
No,
myself more
no,
of the
not at
first
all.
method. I like to make relationships. Baltimore, we call it Smaltimore. Everybody knows everybody. Some of my best business contacts have come from personal relationships. So when I come in, first what I'd like to do is get the phone call. Let's just talk. Did we inherit it? Did we find it in the closet?
Yep.
And find the background. And then I like to work for my clients. And they actually hire me. I work on commission just like a real estate agent, and my goal is to find the best buyer at the best price and whatever their time frame or their goals are, and we discuss those needs, and vice versa, or to sell. So if they have something they want to sell, so whether you're buying for a collection or selling for a collection, I go to people's houses and I get to talk about sports. So I'm very very lucky that I get to make a job out of that. I do have a second half of my job, which is I actually do consulting in the space on a national level for sports card tech companies on the West Coast, but that's not boring and nobody ever wants to hear about that
Okay.
side.
So the sports collectible world, I have a sense, because I can tell you're like a mover and shaker. You've done a lot of different things. You're very confident. 10 years ago, would there have been enough room for you to have said, hey, I'm going to give up what I'm doing now and get into that? Or has the thing just skyrocketed to where you said, man, I can't resist. I know this stuff intimately and I can make a lot of money doing it.
Yeah, well, I actually got out the first time when everything bottomed out in the late 90s and got away from it. So this was very much a conscious decision that listen, what I was doing in private industry was fantastic, but sports had been my passion. So having worked for the Orioles and the Braves, I knew I wanted to be back involved in sports. And yeah, no, this is something that's just an absolute passion, and I got into it just because I wanted to make it my full-time job. And my clients that I've worked with part-time we're now much more interested in cards because of the pandemic. So I guess it was the chicken or the egg. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to have Danny on some Zooms periodically. He's going to write some stuff for the paper and online. He's going to be a content provider for us. Let me start off with this Mickey Mantle card story from a week ago or 10 days ago, where all of a sudden that card has now surpassed, right, the Hannes Wagner card, which had for years been the most valuable card. What did it pass it by and why?
Well, first of all, you and I both have a very good mutual friend, Ray Schulte, who puts on the
Yep.
National Card Show every year. And this card was actually put on display at the National, I guess it was the end of July when I was out there. It led into an auction that started in the first week of August, put on by Heritage Auctions. The Mickey Mantle, the story behind it is fantastic. If you're old enough, you remember a guy named Mr. Mint, Alan Rosen, who used to advertise in Beckett and Sports Collectors Digest, and he bought the card from in a find from a barn in Framingham, Massachusetts, in the 80s, and this was considered the finest find in the whole barn of hundreds of 1952 Topps
Right,
cards. Mr. Mint, this is the important part, wrote a letter calling it the finest example of the 52 mantle he had ever seen.
right.
So this stayed in Mr. Giordano, the buyer's drawer, for about 30 years, and Heritage was able to get it out of the drawer, and they got it to a grading company, And it's got even on the label of from the grading company known from the Al Rosen Mr. Mint Fine. So it's got a provenance to it that's unmatched.
Right.
There's only a couple extra but 52 manuals graded anywhere close. So this one sold for $12.6 million. And that I didn't
Is
misspeak.
there any truth to the rumor that you bought it?
I can neither confirm nor deny that, Stan, but I think you owe me for some money. I thought we were partners.
Yeah.
So the actually the interesting thing is this is not just the highest card ever. This is now the highest piece of sports memorabilia ever sold.
Ever sold.
And it passed, if you're a soccer fan, the Diego Maradona goal from the hand of God in the '86 World Cup. The jersey that Diego Maradona wore had set the record only a month or two before, and I think it was 9.3 million. So this did a pretty good job. It passed that completely. The Honus Wagner has held the record several different Honus Wagner several different times have held the record. The belief is it might pass it again because now the bar's just been raised.
Yeah.
But cards are really becoming like fine art. I mean, there have been 11 cards worth $4 million or more sold in the last 2 years.
Wow. Wow. How much of this is driven, and you understand the nature of what makes the value go up, and you just said the bar's been raised. How much does that affect the price of things that somebody wants to own? Well, this guy's paid 12.6. If I pay 13.2, I'll own the most expensive card of all time. It's kind of like the ridiculous thing where a player wants to be the highest paid player, knowing that half an hour they could drop to fifth or sixth or something.
Yeah, I don't know if sports get political, but not to get political. Lamar Jackson's contract, a lot of believe one more dollar, then the magic number gets it done. So you're 100 absolutely. I think that's true any phase of life. I mean,
Yep.
really, since we're kids, through the wealthiest of wealthy people, there's a competitive spirit. People want the best of the best. Unfortunately, the best of the best is sometimes defined by dollars. And you're exactly right. I mean, I'll be honest. If I had there's two major grading companies for the Mickey Mantle. This one came from a company called SGC. There are three from another company called PSA that are PSA 10s. You can argue which ones look nicer, but if I were to sell the PSA 10, there's no way I sell it for anything, under what that other mantle just went for a 12.6. So you're exactly correct, and nor should they. I mean, to be honest with you, if you own the asset, you shouldn't take less money than you can get for it.
One of the flukes of sports collectibles is there's a lot of older people, and I'm going back 25, 30 years ago, that might have bought something that meant a lot to them. And they may never have even told their child or something. They hid it in a drawer, they put it in a closet. They now go into a nursing home or pass away, and the kid comes upon it. I mean, that's an often told story now of the barn story, finding it in a barn, finding it in a closet. Is that the case?
Almost 100% of the time. There are more value in the older cards just because there was less printed, less remaining in good condition as a whole. I mean, certainly you'll hear about the high end new stuff, but as a whole, the older the vintage cards are worth more. Most of my business, to be honest with you, that I do locally are people who have ended up, for one reason or another, stumbling upon cards they didn't know about, didn't know they had value, or passed from a relative, et cetera, et cetera. And those, by the way, are the people who feel free to visit me at sportsvault.com. Because that's exactly what I do. I go in, we can talk about the players, talk about the cards. I mean, growing up in Baltimore, I'm sometimes just as excited to see Kiko Garcia or Rene Gonzalez as I am an Eddie Murray or Cal Ripken. And that's just part of getting to do what I love and being lucky. But that you're exactly correct. More closets and more attics, more basements are where the good stuff is.
We're talking with Danny Black. He's the owner of Baltimore Sports Collectibles, and the way to reach him is sportsvault.com. And what is your email address? I'm sorry, because you typed it to me and I don't see a Danny at.
Danny at sportsvault.com.
Danny,
I'm very boring. I can't remember a lot. Everything's at sportsvault.
DANNY at sportsvault, BALT.com is the address. We talked about this card. I want to talk to you about, in the time we have, we got about another 5 minutes or so. I want to talk a little bit about Adley Rutschman, then Gunnar, and now we got Grayson Rodriguez is on the cusp. and Colton Cowser. DL Hall to me might have slipped off that pinnacle, but these guys, is there stuff I saw Jason LaConfora post something either on Facebook or Twitter about 3 weeks ago or 4 weeks ago about the price of Gunnar Henderson cards or something like that. What kind of value are those? Are those worth collecting, or have they gotten too expensive already?
Yeah, I actually met Jason through baseball cards. I think as long as I've known him, we've never talked football.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that's the great thing about the minor league systems. You get to know the prospects, you get to know the players, especially the local ones. So you're exactly correct. The Gunners, the Adleys, those guys are premier prospects, premier players, and they come at premier prices at this point, oftentimes. If you're a real diehard prospect dork like I am, I'm collecting right now guys like Darrell Hernandez. Even Colton Cowser's gotten a little pricey, but Connor,
How about Joey Ortiz?
he doesn't have a great card and he has no national sex appeal yet. And I
Okay.
use that term because, like artwork, people like a little panache. Connor Norby, I think, is a good player to buy right now. But then, there's also Reed Trimbles and Creed Williams, and who knows what they'll be, or Dante Williams. I mean, so that's part of the fun with the young guys if you get in early and cheap.
Now, so in my days, up until the last year or two, Tops has been kind of the card. Tops lost their deal with, and they've essentially left the business now. Tops
Well, Topps was purchased by
purchased
Fanatics.
by Fanatics. Okay, they
Now,
were purchased by Fanatics.
the full story, and you're not wrong, is Fanatics bought the license from Major League Baseball to start to take over the cards in 2 years, which
Okay,
devalued Topps. So unfortunately, then Fanatics bought Topps when they were devalued because they had no future business.
so will it still be called Tops?
It will be, and for baseball cards, they've used the Bowman brand name, which they acquired years ago.
Right.
And the most expensive rookie cards right now are under the Bowman brand name and will continue to be. And Fanatics says they should look the same, and everything should, from that standpoint, should be consistent.
And Bowman was part of Tops. Was it part of the minor league division?
Well, it was more the separate company. I think growing up, they were actually two different companies. So Bowman started in 51 in modern cards, and Topps was 52. And I'll spare you the whole history of cards. But they were rivals for until Bowman
Okay,
dropped out. And then Topps bought the Bowman name and
gotcha.
started producing sister sets. And the Bowman actually became the premier one for prospects.
Okay. If somebody's interested in baseball cards, let's just start with that today. Where would they go to get the Bowman cards? You go online or do you go to stores? Where do you go?
Well, first of all, I'm always going to support local. So I think all the great hobby shops and we called them baseball card stores when we were growing up are fantastic. But
And feel
realistically,
free to, if you have a couple favorites, feel free to mention them. You know.
you know what? I'm lucky enough to be friends with them. They're great. They're great people.
All right.
But the truth of it is eBay. You don't have to overthink it. If you really get down the wormhole, there's early release sign up, and we can talk about that another episode or another show. But really, eBay or the local card shops are the way to go. And you want to buy what's called a hobby box if you want the good stuff.
Okay. How soon in a player's career, like the Orioles just drafted Jackson Holiday, will Bowman have a card out the second half of this summer? I mean, well, it's now September, or will it be next February or March when cards come back out again?
Well, yeah, because of the cycle you said, because we're almost at the year already, they'll
Yeah.
take the whole off season to develop their whole line and to figure out, like you said, which players will be in, which ones they'll sign autograph contracts with. But they'll try to get as many of the top picks into that set, and that'll come out in the fall to coincide with the baseball coming up.
Okay. Not to puncture the balloon that somebody can make a lot of money in this, but about 1985, I started playing fantasy baseball, and my partner on my team is a guy named Jack Hireman, and he said, "Boy, I buy. You interested in buying? I get a box of Topps cards every year." And he told me also that he was putting together his collection of a 1957. He was
Mm,
piecing it together. He's
mm.
got the whole set now of 1957. But for the next 5 or 6 years, I bought the box at the beginning of the year. They proved to be virtually worthless. Is there a chance that these young cards for Jackson Holiday, Grayson Rodriguez, that they'll print so many of them that they water down their value?
Yeah, and that's what happened in the 80s and 90s almost exclusively. It was overproduction. Now they have more limited edition versions and things
Right.
to kind of create that false volume. But the 1957 set happens to be my favorite set of all time. It's the Brooks and Frank rookie years. I love the design. So good choice of his.
What does that worth?
Oh, tens. I mean, depending on the condition, I
Yeah.
mean, six, seven
20,
figures.
30,000, 40.
Oh, less than that for some of the cards. I mean, more than
Okay.
that for some of the cards.
Okay.
No. Yeah. The whole set could be 6 or 7 figures.
Wow.
Oh yeah,
Incredible. Incredible.
yeah.
All right. Hey, we really appreciate your coming on and talking about this. We'll keep finding topics, you and I together, and present them to folks. I really appreciate it, Danny.
No,
Uh,
I appreciate being on. You guys are fantastic, and really honored to be a part of it.
all right. Hey, the Ravens this year, what's their record going to be?
I have us winning the division, and I think
12 and 5,
I
13
think we're
and
going to
4.
get to 12. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm superstitious, so I'm going to say 11, but I think 12 gets the division done.
All right. He's Danny Black again, Baltimore Sports Collectibles, and it's the email address. If you've seen something here that's tickled your fancy, is Danny at sportsbalt.com. Thank you, Danny.
Thank you very much.
All right. And we thank you for tuning in. And we also thank our friends at the Costas Inn again. Numero uno, one of my favorite places of all time. Nick and Pete will treat you right. If you're not at all comfortable going inside to eat, they're curbside pickup. It's as simple as 1, 2, 3. You look up the website, costasinn.com, pick out your menu, pay for it online, and pick it up in person. Don't even have to get out of your car. All right. For all of us here, we'll see you down the road. Sandy Siegel and I will talk about I think the 18th running of the Zero Prostate Challenge. We'll talk with Sandy at 3 o'clock on Thursday. Then at 7 o'clock on Thursday, Gary Stein joins me, and we're going to talk to Vinny Serrato about the Ravens season coming up. Thanks for tuning in.